Dear viewers, welcome to this program on Dimensions of Consumer Environment. This session pertains to the program Consumer Protection Legislation CPI 101, and the main focus of today's session is to discuss the economic factors affecting the consumer environment, to identify the social classes which exercise a considerable influence on buyers' behavior, the impact of cultural environment. We will also analyze changes in the consumer environment which are brought about by the economic reforms and globalization. The consumer perceptions are highly subjective and subject to environment influences. Their buying behavior is influenced by number of factors such as socio-economic environment of consumer, geographical locations, cultural environment, literary level, occupation, marketers' effort, exposure to media, the way consumer use the products, etc. Now, marketing scholars, they have employed a variety of techniques, including approaches based on environmental influences to study the consumer behavior. After analyzing the influence of the family as an important constituent of consumer environment in our earlier videos, let us now focus on the economic, social, and cultural dimensions of that environment. It is a fact that consumption is the basis of income, employment, and economic welfare. Benjamin Frederick has stated that in a capitalist economy, consumers' sovereignty is recognized because the entire economy revolves around under its direction. In this economy, all activities of production, exchange, and money operate as per the desire of consumer, and thus under capitalism, the consumer is the king. Consumers' buying decisions are the outcome of economic influence, which comprises income, price, technology, economy of purchase, dependability, quality, and operational effectiveness of the product. These factors significantly affect the consumer's decision-making process. The more important other factors are like income. Now, income is the primary economic influence which is deterring or regulating the consumption expenditure of an individual. The increase in income influences the buying habits of consumer. Consumers on the basis of income, they are grouped as upper class or a middle class, working class, and low income groups. Saving and debt. Now, consumer expenditure is also affected by saving and debt patterns. In India, people hold savings in the form of bank savings, accounts, bonds, shares, real estate, jewelry, and other assets. Now, these savings form a major source of financing purchases. Consumers can increase their purchasing power also through borrowing. The availability of consumer credit due to the development of banking and financial institutions has been also a major contributor to the growth of Indian market. It has enabled people to buy more than their current income or salaries allow, thus creating more jobs and fills more income and more demand. Third factor is the product consideration. A product can be defined as anything that can be offered to a group of consumers for attention, acquisition, use, or consumption that might satisfy a need or want. Now, it includes physical objects, services, person, places, organization, and ideas. Products are packaged and labeled, and various customer services may be offered along with the product. Now, all these criteria exert a considerable collective influence on buyers. Now, brand names, for example, they tell the buyer something about product quality. Brand names also increase the shopper's efficiency and help to call consumers' attention to new products that might benefit them. So, price consideration. Now, in spite of the increased role of non-prime factors in influencing consumer behavior, price remains an important factor. The consumer decides whether the price is right for the product a company is selling, or the consumer before purchasing, they weights the price against the perceived value of using the product. They also compare the other products having the same price or having different prices. So it is assumed that most of the consumers want to maximize satisfaction, while many actually seek only satisfactory purchase solutions rather than optimal ones. And consumers make careful measurements of the utility to be gained from all the possible alternatives. So the presumed rational consumer is also actually influenced by emotions. Price and durability often become secondary to beauty and prestige. In economics, the basic assumption is homogeneity. Now, homogeneous products and homogeneous consumer preferences. So marketing, on the other hand, it is based on the concept of heterogeneity. Both demand and supply are heterogeneous. Now, sales at concessional prices, price reduction, discount offers, and free gifts, they are commonly used as a sales promotion tools by marketers. Consumers sometimes defer purchases to avail the price reduction during an off-season sale. So, advertisement of products, they aim at creating a deep psychological effect to create demand, impression, or desire for the product among the consumers. Now, it is a potent potential tool in enhancing the sales of existing products and introducing the new products. So, advertisement also plays a very important role in influencing the consumer buying patterns. It also benefits consumers in certain ways. The consumers are exposed to the products of different brands and are able to compare the options and select those that best merit their needs. Then there is also the influence of technology. Now the technology is playing very important role. It is the most phenomenal feature shaping the people's consumption technology. It has dramatically revolutionized the world of media, entertainment, communication, and even the production processes. It impacts the market. The consumer now has not only a wider range of products to choose from, but he also has enhanced variety and brands of products availability for purchase. So there are now so many online shopping malls. The purchaser can buy the goods from online shops. So they have lots of, we can say, a wide range of products to choose from. Now, social environment also plays an important role. We have already discussed how the family impact the buying behavior of the consumer, but the overall social environment also plays an important role. Now, human societies exhibit social stratification. Now, variables like status, wealth, and power, they are commonly used to stratify the society. A social class may comprise a large group of people who possess something common in values, interests, lifestyles, and behavior. Social classes are formed when a people feel empathy with others, sharing similar values and economic circumstances. Marketing managers, they study in detail the characteristics of social classes before designing the marketing strategies for them. A member of a particular class would normally select items that conform to the notion of a good taste and fitness which is held by that class. The families of the upper middle class, for instance, they including fairly successful professional men and executive, they would prefer to buy the particular kind of houses or a furniture, clothing, recreation and luxuries that coincide with that class, which they think is a proper way to live. So in addition to social classes, there are also social and occupational groups which have a bearing on consumer behavior. Social groups differ from social classes in the sense that the groups are narrower and more restricted in membership. Thus, a class may comprise of several groups. It is said that a man is a social being and his behavior is influenced by the society in which he lives. So social interactions and group dynamics, they influence consumer behavior directly or indirectly. Most of the individuals, they interact with other people on a daily basis, and an individual's social behavior and social relationship are often motivated by the expectation of satisfying specific needs. The interaction between him and the society or a group to which he belongs leaves certain influences on him. These influences affect his life, which in turn affects the buying behavior. The various groups affects consumers' behavior. For example, there could be a closed group or a reference group where a member of families, relatives, friends, colleagues, etc. are included. This group influences the lifestyle and the living standards of a person or an individual and also influence consumer buying behavior. Family exercises significant influence on its member. Peer groups influence their individual members effectively. So in such groups, normally the view of the leader and his lifestyle influences the buying practices of the member of that particular group. So reference groups influence consumer behavior in many ways. For example, it exposes the individual to new behavior and lifestyle. It influences the person's attitude and self-concept. Create pressures for conformity that may affect the person's actual product or a brand choice. Then there are other groups like membership group. Now, this group also plays a significant role in transmission of beliefs. Among membership groups, the family considered the most powerful influential group because of its unique role in early childhood socialization. But in other words, membership groups are those to which the consumer belongs and which have a direct influence on him. In some groups, membership is automatic by virtue of the consumer's age, sex, education, and marital status. So before acting, a consumer might consider whether purchase or use of a product would be consistent with its role as a member of one group. So membership groups are having direct influence on the person. Then there are certain inspirational groups. So inspirational groups are those to which the consumer likely to belong. This pattern of behavior is evident among upwardly mobile consumers who aspire to join the high status clubs and social groups. So these groups are also primary and secondary. The primary group basically includes the friend, family, neighbors, co-workers with whom that person interacts informally on everyday basis. And the secondary group, however, consists of professional, relational, trade unions, religious groups. It is a formal and the person is having less continuous interaction. Then there are certain dissociative groups, these are the groups which an individual avoids relating to. Such groups equally contribute to shape the behavior of consumer because individuals avoid the actions or consumption behavior that characterize the dissociative or avoidance groups. Then there are certain opinion leaders which impact the consumer buying behavior of an individual. A person is informal, product-oriented related communication who offers advice, information about the product or a product category. So opinion leader gives his opinion on the product. So marketers may try to reach out to those opinion leaders by identifying demographic, psychological characteristics associated with the opinion leaders, identifying media read by the opinion leaders, directing messages at opinion leader. Then there are certain face-to-face groups. So these groups are basically small enough for an individual to communicate with, and such groups have direct influence on the individual's ideas, tastes, values, and behavior. Now, how the individual is influenced by the reference groups. So these groups basically expose the person to possible new behaviors and lifestyles. They also influence the individual's attitudes and self-concept because the person normally desires to fit in. So these groups also create pressure for conformity that may affect the choice of actual product and brand name. However, influence varies with cohesiveness of the group, the person's esteem for the group, or a group's communications effectiveness. Then there are certain cultural environments that impact the buying behavior of a consumer. Now, to understand the behavior of people as a consumer, some knowledge of the influence of cultural values and norms is also necessary. In individual life, culture and religion exercises an influence on habits, the way of living, and various items of consumption, including dress, etc. The cultural and religion which a person follows set a definite pattern of his social conduct. This conduct influences his behavior in buying various products through the influence, though this influence may vary from individual to individual. Culture plays an important role in influencing consumer perception, which in turn influences preferences and purchases. So culture is the way of life and thinking pattern that are passed from generation to generation and is considered relatively stable and somewhat permanent. Because of the enduring aspect of culture, it is easier for marketers to make product consistent with the culture in which the products are marketed rather than to try changing the culture to fit the product. So individuals may react quite differently to the same situations according to their cultural backgrounds and their general experiences. Now, cultural values. So cultural values, we can say the values which strongly influence the consumer behavior. They are culturally determined, meaning that they are learned from social interaction, largely from our families, our friends in settings such as schools and temples. They are important to the organized and integrated nature of our society and also finds expression in the products and services that are demanded. The acceptance of new products, for example, may be dependent on the cultural implications involved in changing the prevailing pattern of consumption. Overall, much similarity can be seen in consumer behavior within a given culture, such as tastes, methods of shopping, and so forth. The status of women in a particular culture may also affect the consumption of certain types of products, such as domestic labor-saving equipments, maybe a washing machine, microwaves, or ovens. So cultural trends are used as a basis for market segmentation, product development, advertising, and other aspects of marketing strategy. However, culture is also changing and it adapts itself to its new situations and new sources of knowledge. The dynamic aspect of a culture can make some products obsolete and can also usher in a new buying habits. With the increase in population, the broad ideals of culture no longer satisfy certain minority groups, and various subcultures have also emerged, and they are identified on the basis of religion, maybe a rural urban origin, geographical distribution, or sex. Now, differences in consumer groups are everywhere. So, cultural changes are the outcome of social, political, economic factors, or changes in technologies, changes in literacy rates, and so forth. So, if we look into the cross-cultural consumer analysis, so today products are sold worldwide as there is worldwide demand. So, because of differing cultures, worldwide consumers' homogeneity doesn't exist. So, in this context, the cross-cultural consumer analysis becomes critically important and is a must to determine whether and how to enter a foreign market. So the problems involved in cross-cultural analysis, it includes differences in languages, consumption, patterns, needs, products, usage, economic and social conditions, marketing conditions, and market research opportunities. So change in the consumer environment, it's also very important. The role of consumer has changed from seeking the most satisfaction from goods and services to reconciling the consumption with active citizenship, which links consumption to the modern social issues such as environmental protection or a sound business ethics and for fair working conditions. So in recent years, behavior of the consumer has changed phenomenally. So globalization is also impacting the behavior of the consumer. Today, the way consumers buy the products relate to the questions of environmental importance, and the way they participate in the public policy formulation is of vital importance to modern society. So the consumers should be a green consumer. They should think about the society. They should think about the impact of that particular product on the environment. So consumer is now the choice-empowered consumer who decides the fate of the product with the rising of his earnings. Thus, the manufacturers are continuously engaged to understand the complex consumer behavior better and respond by offering goods and services as desired by them. However, in case of scarcity, the buyers is compelled to buy whatever things are available in the market. So we can conclude that the consumer environment today is not static, but highly volatile and fast changing. The consumer now has a wide range of products to choose from, and the marketers are constantly competing for higher sales through advertising and innovative sales promotion tools. Quality consciousness and cost consciousness are also growing. Consumer awareness has considerably increased, and consumer forums are providing protection to the consumers against the unfair practices of the producers and suppliers of goods and services. Further, environment sustainability of production and consumption has emerged a prime global concern by the turn of last century. So at the UN level, many efforts has also been taken concerning environmental sustainability of a product.